Hello there, and welcome to this amazing endeavor to the deep, dark ocean of Jurassic World Evolution 3. In this tutorial I take you through my shark tunnel, so that you can take your guests in the future through your shark tunnels. And yes, I'm talking about functioning shark tunnels that guests can walk through. All you need is Kaiodenic's fantastic FreeBuild Mod and a few of the techniques I taught you in my last tutorials. In this tutorial I will walk you through the placement of my workshop built shark tunnel that I give you here. And when you follow the steps and try it out yourself, you will learn how you can build your own functioning shark tunnels. After this short lesson, I will give you a few tips so that you don't have to correct that many mistakes that could happen with this kind of build, because there are a few things we have to consider and a few things we have to look out for so that it works and that it gets the best effect for your park. After you downloaded my workshop build, it's important to place it in any 90-degree angle in the orientation of your map, so to say, because I built some ramps there for guests to walk down from the standard lagoon level to the level of the shark tunnel, traverse the tunnel and walk back up. The ramps I put into my workshop build will be generated automatically, but if you don't have a 90-degree angle orientation to your map borders, the ramps don't work that well. As I have shown in my reverse engineering tutorial, where I took you through an enclosure of mine, took it apart and demonstrated how it works. So in many of my builds I work with anchors that I use to sort groups in my blueprints and to have the ability to move them around and move them back in the right position in regard to the other parts of this build. So first, place the whole build in the map, and there should be a little bit of space you're not really fond of in the near vicinity, because that will be demolished soon. Next, you use the red anchor, which is connected to a group of flattening pieces that will give you the position where the delivery zones have to be built. Now select the gray anchor and move the whole build to the side except for the flattening pieces in the middle. I recommend grid movement because it's easier to get it back into position. Then you flatten the ground and lay out the delivery zones right on top of this red building zone. In this build I tried to make the shark tunnel as narrow as possible, and that means you have to be very precise with the delivery zones. Best case, you don't lay them down as I did here, with some gray parts sticking out. There should be nearly nothing looking out on either side. So if you build something like that, give yourself a little more wiggling room. Because remember from my tutorial for the lagoon bridge that's working for every dinosaur, these delivery zones negate any kind of collision of other pieces which are too close. And you can imagine if you put a wall there and glass and anything else without collision, the marine reptiles will swim through. Or if you're not careful with the pathway you place in the end, the guests will walk through the walls, which you will see later with me demonstrating what kind of mistakes can be made with this. So when you try out my workshop build, try to be as precise as possible. And when you build it yourself, a shark tunnel or anything else in the lagoon, because this technique opens up the possibility to make a whole underwater city, or at least some amenities and whatever you think about. When guests can walk there, they can enter buildings there. So an underwater restaurant will be possible. And yeah, so if you build something with this technique, give yourself a little bit more room than I did in my first draft. So after the delivery zones are done, I will raise the ground around it again. That's just that my ramps and the pathway for the guests later on will have an easier way to be set down. Select the anchor and bring the whole build back again. As I said, use the grid system to move it exactly where the anchors should intersect or overlap. After placing it down, I use the flat dig technique to, you know it already through my tutorials, activating and deactivating FreeBuild Mod while in movement, and setting it down again will give you the chance to dig down. As you see here, there are still a little bits of ground peeking through the path, through the tunnel, but in my uploaded build this will be corrected. The next step will be the placement of the pathway, which is a little bit tricky, because here in this build I would do it after setting down the whole thing. Inspecting the ramp and that everything sits right beforehand is of course recommended. As I said, building in the corridor isn't easy, but what the heck, it's doable. I always try not to build ramps when pathing, but with this kind of build, like I did it, it's not terrible if that happens. It will change the ground of the ramp and make the ramp for that moment unusable, but as soon as you use the flat dig technique and select the whole build, activate FreeBuild Mode, deactivate FreeBuild Mode, activate it again, set it down again, without moving the thing, the ramp will be created again perfectly, so that guests can walk up and down the corridor. Here I place the pathing of the most important part, of course, the shark tunnel itself. And I wanted to try to use the whole space of the tunnel. I wouldn't do that. You will see later why. Because if your walls are not... Well, I will say it another way. If your walls are too close to the delivery zones, they will lose collision. And if there's pathing exactly in that vicinity, guests will walk through the walls. Of course, if the collision works, they should be stopped. So, if collision is on because you put the walls of the tunnel far away enough, this shouldn't be a problem. But why not keep a little space between the pathway and the walls anyway? And with all this done, you can set down the lagoons. That's why I saved this blueprint with the attached hatchery, because the whole build now has the perfect angle, or the lagoon has the perfect angle. Everything is built around it. So if you create something like that, set down your lagoon, build a shark tunnel, then place down a hatchery to that lagoon and save it with that hatchery. If you later place the whole thing, it's easy to get the right angles, the right distances for everything. Now I only need to bring in the guests and they will walk through the whole thing. Let's come to the things you need to keep in mind. As I said, the delivery zones negate collision. So, as you see here, if it's too narrow, you can't give your walls any collision. It's even possible that because of some angle, just a few parts are affected. But that's enough for guests to choose the pathway outside of the shark tunnel, because here I made the pathway too wide. So give yourself a little bit more room and check collision during your build. And what counts for the guests also counts for the swimming reptiles. Next, I would recommend to only use this shark tunnel for the marine reptiles that use the shark feeder, because those little tuna, they will get inside your shark tunnel. I don't know how to keep them out. Sometimes it seems that collision works, but that's only for the pieces on the side. Because remember, the delivery zones negate collision of everything that touches them, which also counts for everything that's above them. And that means, unfortunately, the roof is no barrier. As to first person mode, that seems to be a no-go, unfortunately. Because we can't move through the doors in first person mode, and even if we wouldn't put any doors there, we can't walk through the concrete lagoon walls. So my build here is more for the effect of the outside perspective. But if you want to walk inside, there is another way. If you dig down 32 grids or more, you can create a tunnel under the lagoon. With the vanilla lagoon bridge glitch, that's it. You can go under it, but that's so deep that your guests can't walk through the lagoon. But with delivery pieces, these delivery zones set down at 32 or maybe even higher. Yeah, you saw that guests can walk at any height now. You can bring them up with a ramp or something like that. I tested this, and it's possible to use the flat dig technique in combination with the delivery zones to make a ramp out of flattening pieces, and guests will walk on this ground and the pathing up in the lagoon as high or wherever you want. So your shark tunnel can have different elevations, there can be different levels, there can be a tunnel from underneath that brings the guests up, and that would bring you the possibility to enter the shark tunnel via the first person mode. So I hope with this tutorial I have helped you to bring another attraction to your park. Tell me about it in the comments, and if you have a workshop built that's using this technique, share it with us. Give us new ideas, myself and other builders that try this. But please, just one thing. Put somewhere in the text and the title that FreeBuild Mod is needed for this, so that users don't download something they can't implement because they are playing on console or they don't want to play with mods. So, I hope you can make something out of this and have fun with your next gaming session. Goodbye.